Welcome to the Keyframe Mastery Course. In this course you will learn absolutely everything about keyframes, which is a really useful skill because it not only affects CapCut, which is the software that we are going to use for this course, but every editing software out there. So, what will you learn in this specific lesson? In the first lesson you will get a general understanding of what is a keyframe, the basics, how to add them, how to remove them. Then you will understand how to add keyframes to audios and to effects. That's because you can add keyframes to basically everything, from color grading to effects to text to everything basically. And in the first lesson you're going to learn basics, effects and audio. Let's start from the basics and let's go with what is a keyframe. The whole reason we use keyframes is to add more than one keyframe to our image. And let me show you what I mean by that. So right here I'm going to create a keyframe on position at the position 0, 0, so the center of the image. Then I move a bit forward and I add a keyframe to 500, 500. It automatically creates a keyframe because I already created one before in the image. And this is what happens. The ball moves from one keyframe to another, as you can see. I'll show you it again so you can look at the player right here that moves to the keyframe, and here it stops. Therefore, if you want this ball, for example, to score, we can move a bit further in the timeline, or for example, right here, and then we put the ball right here, and this is what's going to happen. And then we can go a bit forward again and just put the ball here, and then put the ball in the net. So this is the final result. Now this is just a basic idea of how to use keyframes, because this doesn't look that good, but it's still a way to move PNGs and images. And keyframes don't only exist for position, they also exist for any feature basically. For scale, for example, I could put a scale keyframe right here at 16, and at the end it's going to be 102, and the ball gets bigger slowly. As you can see, I could also use an opacity keyframe. I put a 0 here, keyframe, I go forward, keyframe 100, and as you can see it appears like that. You can also use keyframes for rotation, chroma key, as you can see. Even audios have keyframes. Everything has keyframes. You can also use keyframes for text and effects. Let's now learn how to put keyframes in audio. Well, it's fairly simple to be honest. For example, let's say I have this song, which I believe should fade in, okay? But let's say that with the fade in button here, I only get this kind of effect, and I don't like it. What I can do is go at the start, place a keyframe, and put the volume to, let's say, 0. And then I go a bit forward, put a keyframe, and it gets to 24. And then it gets higher and higher until I get to 7. So what it does is creating this curve, as you can see, and when you hear it, it sounds like this. And the music fades in slowly. You can also do this in the middle of the track. Let's say I want to reduce the volume of the part before the drop. So what happens is I place a keyframe at the normal volume, then I go one frame forward and I place another keyframe. When I've placed the keyframe, I go around here where I want the volume to be at its lowest. I reduce it, it already places a keyframe automatically, and then I go forward and I put back my original volume. I'm going to space them a bit more. This is what you can hear in the end. As you can hear, the volume goes down and up once again. So that's how you use keyframes in audios. And now let's get on how to use keyframes in effects. So here's how you do it. Let's say, for example, I want to use the edge glow, and I'll put it to the max. But as you can see, it creates this effect that I don't like. I only want the edge glow to affect the ball. To do that, I have two ways. I can either put the edge glow directly on the ball, but what happens is I cannot use keyframes here So what I will do is I will put the edge glow, apply all the keyframes that I want, and afterwards I will highlight both of them and create a compound clip. First, let's edit the effect. In order to do that, let's create, for example, the effect of a heartbeat, okay? So to get an heartbeat sound, I will go here on the audio panel and choose, for example, this one that I like, and I will add it to the timeline. As you can see, we have these things that help us to recognize where the heartbeat is happening. So let's go to the first one. So the heartbeat, it's twice here and here. To do this effect, it's pretty simple. We go at the start and we put a keyframe on the 0 on the edge glow. Then we go at the start of the heartbeat, we put a 0 keyframe, then we go 1 frame forward and we put a 100, so that the effect happens in the snap of a second. Now once the effect happens in a frame, we go forward until the heartbeat ends, we add another keyframe on 100, and then we go 1 keyframe forward and we add 0. Then we remove this opacity so that we can see the ball, and let's see how this looks like. As you can see, it's perfect. On the first beat of the heartbeat, it gets the light and then it disappears. To copy and paste the effect is pretty simple. You just, while holding Ctrl, you copy and paste. You copy all of them. You go right here at the start and you copy and paste them. And we do the same here. And after merging these together as a compound clip by clicking Alt-G or clicking Create Compound Clip, this is what it looks like. Of course, you can do this with a lot of stuff more than a ball moving in a weird way on a football field in 2 dimensions. This is just a way to give you an example. To summarize, in this lesson you learn the basics of keyframes, how to add them to audios, to make the audio smoother, and how to add them to the effects. In the next lessons, you're going to learn how to add them to color grading, use the graphs, create some intros, transitions. I'll see you there.